Let's talk about 11 mistakes in the Naruto anime, and these are gonna be actual mistakes. No bad animation and weird frames when you pause the anime do not count as mistakes because those are made on purpose. Also, censorship of violent scenes or otherwise are also not gonna be counted as mistakes because those were also on purpose to make the anime more palatable for younger audiences. And I've made an entire video about this topic already, so you can watch it later. Now, let's start off with mistake number 1, the Kazekage's clothes. Because if you remember correctly, back in Naruto Part 1, when the Kazekage, quote-unquote, because it was actually Orochimaru in disguise, showed up in the Chunin exams, his Kazekage robes were white and blue. But that's a big coloring mistake because the Kazekage clothes are not blue, they are green. He is from the Land of Wind, the leader of the Sand Village. Therefore, his clothes should be green. It makes much more sense for the Mizukage to have blue clothes because he is the leader of the Land of Water. Now, even in Naruto Shippuden in the Kazekage rescue arc, we see Gaara with those blue robes, which are wrong, and this mistake is corrected later on in the anime when we see Gaara in the 5 Kage Summit arc, because now the Mizukage is showing up as well. Oh, I guess we have to give Gaara the actual green color, otherwise it will be weird if he has the same color as the Mizukage, but that was a big mistake. We see in the manga that the Kazekage has always had green robes to represent the Land of Wind. Now, this choice was definitely a conscious decision, but I am counting as a mistake because they actually changed it later on in the anime, therefore they regretted what they did, but they probably did that because blue would contrast much better than green with red, and the entire contrast in that particular scene was with Hiruzen, who was wearing the Hokage robes, who were red and white, and therefore the red would contrast well with Orochimaru's blue Kazekage robes. It would look cooler than green because red and blue are opposites, but still, should have been green. Number 2, the Edo Tensei eye. So, when Orochimaru brings the first and second Hokages back to fight Hiruzen, they actually look like normal, living people. Their eyes look absolutely normal, and there seemed to be nothing really wrong or weird about them. And then when we go on to the war arc, every single Edo Tensei has dark eyes instead of white eyes. This really symbolizes that, okay, these people do not belong to this world, they're dead, they should not have been brought back because this is messed up. But Tobirama and Hashirama were fine in the Chunin exams. However, this is not the case in the manga, because in the manga they do have the black eyes, just like they would eventually get black eyes in the war arc. However, for whatever reason, the anime chose not to do the black eyes, and this was a conscious choice. It's not as though they forgot in a couple of scenes to do the black eyes, because I guess you could make that mistake and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But no, in every single scene they have white eyes, so this is definitely something that they chose to do. Why? I have no clue, because it really differentiates Edo Tensei characters, and they look really cool with the black eyes. Pretty dumb decision by Pierrot Studios. Number 3, Itachi's Mangekyou Sharingan. So the first time Itachi comes to the Leaf Village after he left and attacks Asuma, Kurenai, Kakashi, and then Gaia arrives, I suppose, later on, he uses Tsukiyomi against Kakashi, and that's obviously a Mangekyou Sharingan ability. Now, when you watch the anime, you get the impression that the Mangekyou Sharingan is just a fancy name for a more powerful version of a Sharingan ability, because Itachi's Sharingan looks exactly the same with 3 Tomoe. They just do a weird montage with all those Sharingan eyes kind of flying around as though it's an illusion that's about to take place, and it just feels very weird because I suppose that's the Mangekyou Sharingan. Obviously, it's not the Mangekyou Sharingan. Everybody knows how Itachi's Mangekyou Sharingan looks like. However, when Kishimoto was drawing that scene in the manga, he hadn't yet finished the design for Itachi's Mangekyou Sharingan. So you can see that when Itachi is using the Mangekyou Sharingan against Kakashi there, you never see Itachi's eyes. It's out of focus or too far away for you to see. And that's because Itachi's eyes had a different shape that Kishimoto hadn't figured out yet. But in the anime, instead of doing what Kishimoto did and just not showing the eye, they show the eye and it's just a Sharingan, which looks weird. Also, it is kind of cool that the first time you see those abilities, you don't see what the Mangekyou Sharingan looks like, and then we get the actual reveal in Sasuke's flashback. It's really impactful. Number 4, and I love this scene, but the anime kinda screws it up a little bit. The first time Naruto uses a Rasengan properly, he lands it on Kabuto, saves Tsunade. Everybody knows that's an epic scene, but it looks like Naruto landed a Chidori on Kabuto in the anime. Lightning comes out of Naruto's hand when he is Rasenganing Kabuto, and it really looks like a Chidori. What can I say? They kind of messed the animation up here. Maybe they didn't have the budget to do a Rasengan blow or anything everything, and he had the Chidori blow prepared, but you can obviously see that in the manga, it looks like how a Rasengan blow should look like, the swirling chakra, spinning very rapidly behind Kabuto and all that. But in the anime, it just looks like lightning all of a sudden. I don't know Naruto learned Chidori, man. Number 5, Kakashi's reverse Mangekyou Sharingan. So there's a point in time during the Kakashi versus Sasuke fight in the 5 Kage Summit when Sasuke uses the Susanoo arrow against Kakashi, and Kakashi has to kamo it away so he doesn't die. He uses his Mangekyou Sharingan for that. But the colors of that particular scene in the Mangekyou Sharingan are reversed. His pattern is red and the outside of the pattern is black, which is supposed to be the other way around. And that's kind of a weird animation mistake because that scene lasts for a little bit and they just kind of let it go for a while. It would be one thing if a particularly quick shot was done in reverse colors, but the entire thing, nobody said anything. I mean, obviously they noticed, but they just chose not to fix it because it would probably be too expensive or whatever. Number 6, and this is an absolutely convoluted mistake that involves the manga and the anime. Obito's arm collar. Now this begins when Minato and Obito fight during the Nine Tails attack, and Minato destroys one of Obito's arms. Now a lot of people say that there's a mistake in the anime because Minato destroys Obito's left arm, which is not the arm he was supposed to destroy because the Zetsu arm is the right arm, so that's the arm that kind of melts away when it's destroyed and all that. And it looks like the arm gets melted away when Minato lands the Rasengan. So it was supposed to be the other arm, the arm that was crushed by the rock all the way back in the day, and Obito got half of a white Zetsu body to replace that part of the body and that arm that was destroyed by the rock. But that's not actually true. That was not an anime mistake because in the manga, Obito also loses his left arm in that fight. And he does look like it's supposed to be a Zetsu arm, but he didn't get that arm replaced by a Zetsu arm, so it just looks weird. Maybe Kishimoto overlooked a little bit of what was supposed to happen in this scene and chose the left arm for whatever reason, but that's not a mistake in the anime's part. However, in number 7, there are way more mistakes about Obito's arms because even when Obito is attacking the Leaf Village here, his right arm is not white. I mean, you can say his skin color is probably white, but I'm referring to the literal white color, which is the white Zetsu color, and the color of Obito's right arm. Because I said before, he got half of a white Zetsu body, and his right hand doesn't look white, how it's supposed to look. Even in the colored version of the manga, it doesn't, so that's another mistake. But then obviously we see that towards the end of the war arc, when DMS Obito was fighting against Kaguya and all that, and he was shirtless, that half of his body was made of the white Zetsu matter. It was literally white, and he had a white Zetsu arm. However, during the war arc, Obito loses his sleeve and gets his arm exposed by Naruto's Rasengan Kamui combo. And his arm was also skin color, not white. And that was also a mistake in the anime and in the manga. So a lot of mistakes here regarding Obito's arms. And the worst thing is, his left arm, which was blown by Minato and was his normal arm when it was blown by Minato, is never replaced by a white Zetsu arm. It never turns into the white color that's supposed to be the white Zetsu color. When we see DMS Obito shirtless, his right half is white Zetsu, but we see his left arm is pretty normal, even though his hand literally fell off during the fight against Minato. So yeah, a lot of inconsistencies here. Now continuing with Obito, number 8 is going to be Obito's scar, and it being on the wrong side of Obito's face. Like, Studios Pierrot literally forgot that Obito got half of his body crushed on the right side, not on the left side? That's really weird. But what if I told you that the mistake was not the side of the scar? Because yeah, everybody knows that Obito has the massive scar on the right side of his face, and then all of a sudden Obito has a scar on the left side of his face when he is in bed and hurts and he's taking care of Zetsu and Madara. But that left side scar is also present in the manga, and that's not a manga mistake because of course half of Obito's body was crushed by the big rock in the beginning and then he couldn't move anymore. But after Kakashi and Rin left, the entire cave collapsed on Obito and several other rocks hit him as well, hurting the other side of his body. It was just not as catastrophic as an entire massive rock falling on the right side. So one of the rocks fell on the left side of his face and left a scar there. In the manga, you can see that's not a permanent scar. It's like a bruise and cuts, but definitely not a deformation on Obito's face, and that's the mistake the anime made. It made it look like that scar was there to stay, that was kind of like the scar he got on the right side of his face, which is not. It was supposed to be bruises and cuts, but instead it looks like what he would eventually get from the rock falling on the right side of his body, which is a mistake of the anime. anime, because if you don't convey the proper meaning of that scar and you make people think you made a mistake and confuse the side of Obito's face, that's pretty bad. Number 9. Madara's Rinnegan mistake. So, when Madara is fighting against the Alliance and everybody is hyped because Madara is stomping a lot of background characters, Inoki eventually thrusts Madara upwards and Naruto lands a Rasengan on him, but Madara uses his Susanoo, blocking the Rasengan, not taking any damage, and counters the attack. Now, before he activated the Susanoo in that scene, Madara was only using his base 3 Tomoe Sharingan. He was evolving his eye slowly during the fight. However, in the anime, there is a brief scene right when Inoki is thrusting Madara upwards that he looks at the quote-unquote camera and his eyes depict the Rinnegan. He wasn't supposed to have a Rinnegan there, guys. He was supposed to have a 3 Tomoe normal Sharingan. Now, because Madara is usually drawn with the Rinnegan in the entire series, the animation probably made a mistake and they figured, oh, okay, this is a Rinnegan scene because most of the scenes are going to be Rinnegan scenes anyway. And it's a very quick scene. However, there are a decent amount of people who notice this mistake the first time they watch it. They're like, oh, was that the Rinnegan? What the hell? Which kind of gives the surprise away when Madara eventually uses the Rinnegan in the fight. Now, the first time I watched that episode, which is episode 322, the best Naruto episode, I was watching it right after it came out, and I caught it immediately when the mistake was made. I saw the Rinnegan and I'm like, oh, he was not supposed to have the Rinnegan here, because I tend to look a lot at characters' eyes, especially Uchiha's, because their eyes are just cool to look at, and I saw the mistake, and a lot of people do. People that don't know the Madara is going to have the Rinnegan, and they are really confused, so I understood it immediately. Oh, okay, this is an animation mistake, because after that brief Rinnegan glimpse, Madara immediately changes to the EMS with his Susanoo, and that's just an unfortunate mistake that kind of spoils things for people that pay close attention to the story and what's unfolding, and especially in this scene, because a lot of attention was drawn towards Madara's eyes beforehand when he was trading blows with the Alliance. His eyes were glowing, looking at all sides. It was really cool, so people were encouraged to pay attention to Madara's eyes, and then when you see the Rinnegan, you're just like, oh, okay, he's weird, man. I didn't know he was gonna have a Rinnegan, so that's kind of bad. Number 10, the first time Madara uses Deep Forest Emergence, there's a quick scene where Madara doesn't have gloves all of a sudden. It's kind of brief, but it's weird because Madara always has gloves on, at least when he is in Edo, and then there's a scene he doesn't, so you're like, oh, okay, I guess that's a mistake, because in the next scene he has gloves again. And this one is definitely not a big deal. Number 11, there's a scene towards the end of the series after Naruto and Sasuke fight in the Valley of the End, the sun setting and everything, that Kakashi has the Leaf Village headband, and you say, well, I mean, that's right? I mean, Kakashi, Leaf Village, but no, he was supposed to have the Alliance headband, not the Leaf Village, so that was a mistake. Obviously, not a big deal either, but an anime mistake nonetheless, because afterwards, Kakashi just has the normal Alliance headband. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, like the video if you enjoyed it, and watch this other video right here for the times when the Naruto anime was censored so that it wasn't as violent as the manga. Thank you so much for watching.